Namaskar. Welcome to this session on letting go of attachments in the series Bhagavad Geeta in daily life. So many of scriptures tell us that the root cause of suffering is attachment. But it happens so naturally to us that sometimes we are just unaware of how we live in this world and what are our problems. And a lot of problems are because of these attachments. And how we can let go of these attachments, let's listen what Shri Krishna tells us in Bhagavad Gita. So if you see the first shloka of Shri Bhagavad Gita in the first adhyaya, it starts with Dhritarashtra. He says, Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre. On this, he says, O Sanjaya, on this Dharma Kshetra, there is a Mahabharata, where there is a war going on for Dharma, Adharma. Kurukshetra is a battlefield. It is almost like a pilgrimage. The Gita message was given to Krishna. All these Samaveta Yunutsava, all these people, Kauravas, Pandavas who have gathered for battle, he says, Mamaka cha Pandava kim kurvata. He says, what did Mai and Pandu's son do? And this Mamaka, when Dhritarashtra says, these are my and these are not mine, that itself shows that he has an attachment towards Kauravas. He doesn't have that feeling of my with the Pandavas, who are his brother's son, Pandu's putra. And this itself shows that the root cause of Mahabharata Yuddha was the moha. And it's also called that Dhritarashtra was mohand. Mohand is the word used for Dhritarashtra, who was andha, who was blind in moha. He had a lot of attachment. That was the root cause of this adharma and this battlefield of Mahabharata. Krishna then in the first adhyaya tells Arjuna who came with a lot of preparation to fight the war, he says, Krishna, take my chariot to the center of the battlefield. I want to see all these great warriors who have come to fight with me. And Krishna takes the chariot to the center of the battlefield and says, Oh Arjuna, now Krun Pashya, you see all these Kurus, he says. It doesn't say see these warriors, he says all these Kauravas, you see this Kuru clan, and they've all come leading from the front are Bhishma, Drona, all the kings. And this is the defining moment of the war, because here Arjuna, when he sees all this, his brethren, his family members, he sees all his relatives. Instead of warriors, he starts seeing his relatives, and he sees all these, his uncle, Pitrus, he says Pitamahan, or his grandfather is Pitamaha, and his Bhishma, Acharyan, Drona, Matulan, all his maternal uncles, Putran, Pautran, all his sons, grandsons, Sakhi, all his friends, and all he sees in the opposite side. And with this, what happens is Krupaya Paraya Vishto. He develops attachment, he develops moha. Seeing his relatives, he feels, oh, why I should fight this war with my relatives? He is now filled with deep compassion. And this compassion doesn't come out of positive emotion, it comes out of attachment. It is that emotional storm that is going on within the minds of Arjuna. And with this, he is filled with Vishidannam idam bravit. He is Vishada, he is developing a sorrow, he develops despair. And he says these words, he says, O Krishna, having seen all these relatives, Yutsam, Samupastidam, all my swajana, all my relatives, all my own, Drashtvemam, who have gathered for war, he says, describes this condition. Sidanti mama gatrani, my limbs have become weak. Mukham cha parishishyati, my mouth has become dry. Bevatustha sharire me, my body is trembling. And Roma harshashta jayate, I am having goosebumps. All this stress reaction is what Arjuna develops on seeing this. And then in the next few shlokas, he describes this condition further, how he is now filled with a lot of stress, an emotional storm raging within him, and is unable to decide what is the best thing for him to do. And this shows that attachments is the root cause of all our sorrows, our pain, our misery in our life. Most of it happens because of our attachment. And this is what is Shri Krishna going to talk about from the second adhyaya. The second adhyaya, Shri Krishna gives the message of Gita-ji. What is that divine message? Then he talks about Karma Yoga. And then he talks about, finally, in the last part, he talks about the Sthita Prajna, how the wise behave. And in that final 18 shlokas, one of the shlokas, Shri Krishna says that wise people, for them affection is fine, but they don't have attachment. He says, Yaha sarvatra an abhisneha. those people, those wise people, those people who are firmly in wisdom, those Sthita Prajna, they don't have much attachment. They live in this life without being attached. Tat tat prapya shubha shubham. Whenever they encounter pleasant or unpleasant circumstances, when they have something which they wanted, they didn't want, whatever comes to them, they will be accepting. They will be in samatva, they will be in balance, in equipoise. They don't have very strong likes, dislikes. And na abhinandati na dveshti. They don't rejoice too much when they get something that they wanted, and they don't do dvesha. Means they don't hate anyone, they are not filled with disgust whenever they don't get anything, or they don't become violent or get angry. Tatsya prajna pratishtita. Only that person's knowledge becomes firm. They develop wisdom which is firmly rooted, and that person can be called a sthita prajna, those who don't have much attachment. So love or sneha is the essence of life. We all live in this world just because we like to love. We, love things, people, nature. We love so many of our hobbies, our self. Highest love is for our own self. So love is a very, very positive emotion. It's a virtue. Those people who can love others without discrimination, without being selfish, and selflessly, that is the highest form of love, and that is the essence of life. But most of the times what happens is that we have abhisneha, too much love for the people who are our own, like our family members, our near and dear ones, our kith and kins. And for the others who are away, we don't have much, feelings or emotions. And this too much love causes attachment, and this causes the power to control them. They should do what I want them to do. That possessiveness, that sense of discrimination between what I like, what I don't like, what I love, what I don't love, and it creates selfishness. So that is not advisable. And that abhisneha, that too much of love, too much of attachment causes all these problems and miseries in our life, that causes moha. And that's why we need to try and treat everyone equally, try to love everyone, starting at home, our workplace, especially people who are working with us. And that is what our Guruji teaches us, that we need to start it from our home and our workplace. So what are those techniques to avoid attachments? First is that the pain and pleasures that we get during our life are due to our destiny, my earlier karma. This is the understanding that I need to have. And I should not blame others for giving me that pain or pleasure. Most of the times it's very easy to blame someone because we get some pain or something, and we shouldn't get attached to this pain or pleasure. Try to see the other side of this emotion, and then we use our understanding, our intellect, which is the best gift given to us by the Lord. With this understanding, with this pratipaksha bhavana, this samagra vritti, make use of our pain and pleasure to reach our higher goals of life, so that we can remain samatva, balanced in these ups and downs of life. The other way we can do is to observe our own feelings, our emotions, as being an observer, becoming away from what is happening. And this, in the terms of psychology, is called diffusion, being an observer, being a drashta, seeing all the drashya, all that is happening in this world as something which is happening, which is unfolding like a drama in front of us. And understanding that getting identified to our feelings, our emotions is due to my ignorance. This is the area where I have to work on. This is the area of my efforts. This is not the area of my destiny. This is not the area of my personality, but I can really work on this, and I can reduce these attachments. With this understanding, if we rise above this pain and pleasure dualities, all this dvandva, then we can achieve balance within this. Then we can definitely avoid this kind of attachments and the pain that comes with these attachments. So we need to change our own attitude. That is what Shri Krishna wants to tell us. There is nothing, we don't have to change anything outside. The world is full with all the ups and downs of life. We cannot change anyone. We cannot change any situation. What is going to happen is going to happen. But we have to remain more equipoised. We have to understand our mind. We have to control our mind. We have to remain in a more neutral situation. And that is how we have to live this life. So what we need to do, Bhagavan tells us we need to do in the third adhyaya, which is the Karma Yoga. He tells us to do Karma Yoga, which is the most important way of achieving this balance, some samatva. He says, "Oh Arjuna, one who controls his sense organs with his mind, all his indriya, sanyama, which is also called dhamma, indriya sanyama, and one who keeps doing his Karma Yoga with his karmendriya. Karmendriya are all our 5 indriyas with which we do all our actions. Actions are not just physical with our hand, feet, but even verbal actions, our mind, our thoughts, all these are actions. So we need to do this with Indriya Sanyama, with a kind of a control of our own senses, and without being being asakta, without attachments. And this is where Savishishyate says that person is a Vishishya, is a straight or a highest or a superior person, that is the best person in the eyes of the Lord, one who has Indriya Sanyama on one side and does what needs to be done, is Kartavya Karma, he keeps doing. And this Indriya Sanyama is very, very important. Bhagavan Shri Krishna talks about this in so many adhyayas, the second, the third, the fourth adhyaya, and then later on also how it is important, because it senses our Indriyas, all the 5 Indriyas that we have, through which we capture all this knowledge from outside, which goes into us. These are all outgoing, they're Bahirmukha, they're all want, they're very chanchala, they're very unsteady. The moment we close our eyes and there is some noise, we open it and see what it is, because it's very chanchala. We are unable to sit in silence for some time also. And with this Indriya, we get all the knowledge of the objects from outside, and this knowledge is then transmitted to our mind. And then the mind does all the sankalpa, vikalpa, all the ifs and buts. And then finally it's our intellect, our buddhi, which takes the decision, what needs to be done, what I should do. And then it gives the message to the karmendriya to do that appropriate action. So this is how we function. In this scenario, the Indriya Sanyama or the Dhamma is a very important, powerful tool for us. And the second important tool is the mind control, because only it is with the mind control that we can control the Indriya. And the entire understanding of Bhagavad Gita is to control our mind. It is all on our psychology. We need to control our mind. That is where Bhagavan Shri Krishna tells us a lot in Bhagavad Gita how we can have that journey to discipline our mind. And this entire journey of life is to discipline our mind. In contrast to our body, which grows according to the age, our mind does not follow that. So a person who is 50 years old, who is old, who is elderly, but still his mind may be working like a 15 or 20-year-old person, because that person has not still become matured in his mind. And that's why maturity of the mind is something that we need to focus. That is an area of our effort, we have to do a lot of efforts to mature our mind. It takes time and efforts and understanding. And gradually with understanding, when we go on this journey, then it becomes effortless and it becomes habitual. Just like we learn any other skill like cycling or swimming or any other skill for that matter. Initially it is very difficult, but gradually as we learn and gradually as we progress, like driving a car, and then it becomes effortless. We can keep driving the car, talking to others, and then because it has become a habit now, it has become unconscious conditioning for us. And this is what the mind control is also similarly a kind of a skill. And this unattachment, anasakti that Bhagavan talks about is because of, we can only understand by our strong likes and dislikes, raga, dvesha, which are the root cause of problems, which are also addressed in several adhyayas of Bhagavad Gita. Raga is that pleasant vritti, that happiness that we get out of that person, that situation, that object, or that whatever. If somebody likes particular food, somebody likes a particular phone, somebody likes a particular person, and all this causes attachment to that person, and then it leads to all this greed, desires and greed to have that person or that object repeatedly. Similarly, dvesha. Dvesha is the unpleasant feeling. We don't like someone, we don't like particular food, we don't like particular objects or particular places, particular situations. Then we have repulsion. We don't want to do it, we don't want to go there, we don't want to meet that person, we don't want to eat that food. And that if it comes, it's still in front of us, we may become angry or sometimes resort to violence. So these raga, dvesha, they stay in our mind in a very dormant state. And with the indriya, when they come in the senses or they come in the contact with those objects, it gets ignited, it gets aroused. And this creates a lot of samskaras. And then through these samskaras, we keep behaving automatically in our life. We are being unaware how we speak, how we respond. We are all reactive in the personality, and this is all because of these. But the mind of the wise person is like a mirror. It does not have these strong sanskaras, does not have these strong likes and dislikes, and that's why they are able to be very proactive in their approach. They don't have those impressions or sanskaras, and that's why they are able to respond positively to any given situation. The solution that Bhagavan Shri Krishna tells us in Bhagavad Gita how we can come out of these, or we reduce our attachments, reduce our rag, dvesha, and he says the solution, the first and the foremost, we start with the Karma Yoga. And that's why after the second Adhyaya, the third Adhyaya is Karma Yoga, because that is where is the beginning point. Most of us are all, throughout the day, we are involved in karma, actions. We keep doing actions, we are all attached to actions. And that's why Bhagavan Krishna tells us what is the way to do this karma. He shows us different attitudes of doing this karma so that we can attain the final goal. And he says, do your karma without getting attached. Asakta satatam, continuously keep on doing it without getting attached. He says, karyam karma samachara, do your kartavya karma, what needs to be done, what I have been given, this responsibility, several roles and several responsibilities that I have, I should do it in the best possible manner. He says, asakta hi acharan karma, and keep on doing this, your own duties, your own actions without any attachment. Bhagavan says, only then param apnoti purusha, only then a human being is able to attain the higher virtues, the higher path of life, the highest goal of life, which is the Paramatma or the moksha. So this is the link. Karma Yoga, which annihilates or reduces our likes, dislikes, which causes samatva, which is also called antakarana shuddhi, purity of our mind. Only then we are eligible to understand this knowledge, and then we can reach to this final goal of freedom, or freedom from everything, attaining that divinity. So out of a lot of actions, the way how we can do it, attitudes, Karma Yoga, Bhagavan describes one of the foremost and the most important is kartavya karma. Whatever is my duties, prescribed duties for me, I should do it in the best possible manner, minimizing my likes and dislikes. What needs to be done, I should do, not something that I want to do it or I like to do it, but I need to do what I need to do. And this is, there is no happy or there is no inferior duty. I should remain equipoised, well balanced, and every duty is as important, may it be big or small. There is no such thing like this is a better duty or this is a lower duty. Somebody doing a CEO is a higher job. Somebody who is a sweeper in the organization is a lower job. Everyone's job is as important. That is the understanding. And a great job is to do our duties. Sadharme nidharam shreyaha. Bhagavan Shri Krishna talks about this so many shlokas and so many adhyayas, that our own duty, shreyan swadharmo vigunaha, he says our own duty is the highest. We should do it in the best possible way with utmost dedication. So asakta means we should do it without attachment, and we need to understand where we should be attached, where we should not be attached. Karma is the nature of beings, human beings. We have to do karma. We don't have to let go of this karma. So karma we have to do. Karma tyaga is not something that is prescribed ever in our literature, in our scriptures, and it only says that whenever the fruit becomes mature, it just falls off by itself. So karma sannyasa is only permitted in our scriptures. It is never prescribed in our scriptures. What we need to do is karma phala tyaga. We have to let go or leave our attachments to the results of the karma. We are all attached to the results. Whenever we start doing karma, we think what I'll get out of doing this karma. So that is our natural inclination. And that is where Bhagavan Shri Krishna tells us that do your karma, focus on your efforts, focus on your actions. Don't think about what you'll get, what you'll receive. Just have faith that there is a fair system. You'll get whatever best you do, you'll get the appropriate results of your action. And the most important thing is what we need to let go is that kartrutva tyaga, that doership, that ego, that I am the doer. That is something which we finally have to let go by understanding. And this is what is the Karma Yoga attitude. And the final solution to all these attachments, moha, and the problems, destroying all this is knowledge. The final knowledge, the understanding, the divine knowledge that Bhagavan talks about in Shri Krishna, talks about in Bhagavad Gita. He says, Yad gnatva na punar moham. By this, knowing this knowledge, the highest knowledge, the self-knowledge, Atma Gnana, the Brahma Gnana, the knowledge of the divinity, which is Sarvatra, Sarvavyapaka, you shall not again be attached. Bhagavan says clearly that na punah moham. You will never get this delusion, this attachment again if you understand completely this highest knowledge. Evam yasyasi pandava, the attachment you just had. With this knowledge, you shall see all beings, they are completely in yourself and they are also in me. You will be able to see the oneness of this existence, that abheda buddhi, you will get ekatva. You will be able to see that oneness, Bhagavan tells Arjuna. And this is something that we need to understand, that there is just one existence, there is one tattva, the Atma tattva, which prevails. It is the adhisthana, it is the adhara of everything in this It is the one thing that is eternal. It is unchanging beyond everything that keeps changing. Behind all the differences, there is this oneness which we should try and see. And the wise understands all aspects of Karma Yoga and acts accordingly. In the 5th Adhyaya, Bhagavan tells us that one who surrenders to the Lord with Ishwararpana Bhava and does all his actions without attachment with the Prasada Buddhi does not get bound to any sins. Lipyatena sapapena padma patram ivambasa. They live like a lotus in the water. When we look at the lotus, it lives within the water, but whenever water touches it, the drop of water just falls off, is not able to attach to the leaf of the lotus. That is how lotus lives in this world. Shri Krishna tells us that we should live like lotus, Padma Patra, Iva Ambasa. We should live like lotus leaf in the water. So it is this pride and these attachments that are the ones which bind us all the time, and that is what we need to let go. And Bhagavan then tells us that I am everywhere, Sarvatra, Sarvavyapaka. Still people don't know me. Why? He says, in this world of the three gunas, all these three gunas, the Sattva, Rajas and Tamasa, through which all these people, they are deluded, they are all having moha. So what is this cause of this moha in the samsara? He says these three gunas is the cause, and that is why they don't know me. And my real nature, my real swarupa, which is avyaya, which is eternal, which is param, which is highest, which is indestructible, which is beyond the three gunas, which is nirguna, Nistray Gunya. Bhagavan tells us that Arjuna to become Nistray Gunyo, to get about this. So attachments does not allow us to see this divinity. It is only without that we become unattached, then only we are able to see this divinity. So moha, illusion or attachments, Bhagavan says, because of moha, they are not able to know me. So moha is the root cause of all this. It does not allow us this correct vision, the right vision makes us mohanda, and there is no discriminating intellect. We cannot able to distinguish between Atma, Anatma, Jada, Chetana, Nitya, what is permanent, what is transient, what is guna, what are virtues, what are vices, what is Satya, what is Mithya, what is the truth, what is the illusion. All this we are not able to clearly understand because of this moha. And that is the root cause of this problem. My true nature, my eternal and changeless form, one cannot see. And we keep seeing only these names and the forms. And all this is because of moha. We are not able to see this Sarvatra Ishvara. It is almost like while reading, we just keep reading the letters which keep changing. But beyond this, there is a page on which the letters are written, which is the Adhara, the Adhishtana. We are not able to see this. Just like when we seeing the movie, we never see the screen on which the movie falls. We see all these different flashes of light, the changing forms, the shapes, the names, and we get attached to it, but we are unable to see what is behind that. And that is what Bhagavan Krishna tells us to see. So Bhagavan Shri Krishna says, why jivas don't know me? What are the obstacles? He says, all these raga, dvesha, the strong likes and dislikes, they create this delusion due to the duality. Oh great warrior, and this, most of the people are deluded since their birth. They are attached since their birth. And finally, in the 18th Adhyaya, in the final shlokas, at the end of all the message, Bhagavan Shri Krishna asks Arjuna, did your attachment, your moha, get destroyed? Kashid ajnana sammoha pranashtaste Dhananjaya. He asks, did you listen with a concentrated mind? And ho Dhananjaya, did your delusion, your moha, born out of ignorance, get destroyed? Whether the purpose of Gitaji was fulfilled or not, because the main purpose of Gitaji was to have moha nivrutti, to let go of our attachments, because it starts with the first shloka where also Dhritarashtra is on moha, is under, is not able to see. And finally also in the final shlokas also Krishna asks Arjuna whether your moha has been destroyed. And that's why it is said that Gitaji is meant for our moha nivrutti. And Arjuna answers in the next shloka, he says, yes, all my attachments, all my moha is destroyed because of your grace, O Achyuta. He says, you taught me this most secretive param guhya madhyatmam sangitam, this knowledge, the atma anatma viveka, with which my delusion, my moha is completely destroyed. I am now, and the purpose of Gitaji is served. That is what Arjuna tells Shri Krishna. So with this, I come to the end of this session. I pay my respects to the Lord, with whose grace everything is possible. I pray to this Guru Shishya Parampara, through which this knowledge is preserved and transmitted. I pay my respects to my Guruji, Pujya Guruma, with whose grace I am able to learn the scriptures and share this understanding with you. Om गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर् साक्षात् परः ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। ओम शांति शांति शांति।